this was all circulating around the base, that a giant had been killed, but no one was supposed to talk about it.
I saw 3 long, bony fingers reach up underneath the door, curl up to grab it, and then disappeared.
When he came over to me, dude, he slithered over to me.
And this giant comes out of the cave, and they're all frozen. And he starts running and firing at this giant. Well, the giant moves. He's got a spear in one hand, and he's running really fast and spears Dan and holds him up like this. Somebody yells, shoot him in the face, shoot him in the face. They basically decapitate him.
Got closer. When he got about 15 yards away from me, I raised that 12 gauge and I blowed his head off.
I feel something pulling at my leg, and I look over and there are 2 small gray entities pulling at me. And they're literally, I'm getting pulled off the bed.
I reached my hand into this bush and I touched air. Couldn't breathe and I couldn't move because I know I'm seeing a monster.
Yep. Welcome to the show, everybody. You're listening to The Confessionals. I am your host, Tony Merkel. Thank you for being here. If you've had an encounter or a story you'd like to share with me on the show, go ahead and shoot me an email. My email address is theconfessionals@theconfessionalspodcast.com. That's theconfessionals@theconfessionalspodcast.com. Or go to the website, theconfessionalspodcast.com, hit the contact section, and you can reach me that way as well. Either way works for me. Just get a hold of me. If you want more shows every week on Thursdays, we release a bonus show to members only on the website. So if you want to hear more of The Confessionals on a weekly basis, go ahead and check it out at theconfessionalspodcast.com. Just hit the join button and you can become a member today. And if you want some emergency preparedness food and you want to stay prepared for in case of emergencies, go to preparewiththeconfessionals.com. That's preparewiththeconfessionals.com, and there you can get yourself emergency supplies that will last up to 25 years shelf life. And if you get the 4-week supply, we'll knock $100 off for you right there on the spot. Now, listen, folks, before we get into this week's show, I kind of just want to go into some things that, came up this past week. I think many people understand this past week was a pretty busy week when it comes to just everything in the world. People have been getting banned off of social media left and right. There has been an organized attack against Parler, which is a social media platform, by Apple, Google, Amazon. What happened is Apple and Google removed Parler off their app stores, and then Amazon essentially removed the internet services available to Parler so that they can't even have a website. So essentially wiping it off the face of the internet. And it is a scary time for me as somebody who's a content creator to think that just because there is somebody that is very powerful in these tech companies that don't agree with what I say or agree with what I do could just erase me off the face of the earth when it comes to a digital platform. So that said, I also want to let you know I am working on a contingency plan because there are a lot of people who really do enjoy that kind of content. There are a lot of people who wait for the next one to drop. And so I am working on another platform to present to people. It is going to be completely underground. When I say underground, it will not be on any podcast playing apps. It will not go through the Apple App Store. It will not go through Google. It won't be on any podcast playing apps. It's going to be a completely underground show where you might need to push a few more buttons to actually get to it. But once you find out where I'm at, you can actually feel like you're part of the movement. It might be a call-in show. It might be, I'm not exactly sure, actually. I'm just formulating ideas right now, but it is going to be completely underground. If they're going to push free speech to the basement, I'm going to go down there willingly. I'm going to pick out my corner. I'm going to set up shop, and then I'm going to invite everybody down to be a tunnel rat with me under the ground. So that said, if you want to stay in touch with me in case I am kicked off social media, in case internet service providers decide they want to wipe clean The Confessionals or Tony Merkel off the internet, go ahead and sign up for the text message community line. This is an absolute free thing for you. All you have to do is text the word YUP, Y-U-P. That's Y-U-P Text that word to 844-215-0819. Again, that's 844-215-0819. That will automatically register you to get text messages from me in case I need to reach you for any important information, including maybe me dropping this other show and where to find it. I may not say it on this show and I may not post it on social media. This is something that I'm going to be building grassroots. So if you want to be in touch with me as far as the updates for that goes, go ahead and just text the word YUP, Y-U-P, to 844-215-0819. And I'm also starting up on some social media apps that I have not been on before. I just opened up a MeWe account, and just to let you guys know, if you want, you can go look me up, Tony Merkel, on MeWe. I am signing up for social media platforms that advertise themselves as free speech, and that is something that is very appealing to me. So I am on MeWe now. Go ahead and look me up, Tony Merkel, if you want to be there on MeWe. A lot of people are saying, what is MeWe? It's just social media. They say it's kind of like Facebook. So I'm testing it out. I'm seeing what it's like. But if you want to go ahead and follow me, go ahead and do that right there on MeWe. Now, this week we have Dustin coming on the show. And Dustin actually did a 2-part show with me. This is an overtime show again. What you're about to hear on this episode is not conspiracy. Dustin has a lot of paranormal experiences, Bigfoot Lights, all that stuff. We're going to get into it on this show. And then in the overtime segment, we actually recorded some things that were happening about a month ago. This was recorded on December 11th. And when you hear what I have to say and what he has to say almost a month ago, it's a little prophetic. It's almost like, wow, you hear what we have to say, and then you look at what's happening today and you're thinking, spot on, and actually kind of worse than what they were projecting. So that's going to be on the overtime segment, and I hope you guys go ahead and listen to that if you're members. If you're not a member, all you got to do is be a member on the website, and then you can click the overtime segment, and it'll open up for you, and you can listen to the second hour of this conversation I had with Dustin. And I'm going to play a trailer for that conversation right after this introduction. So let's get to Dustin and the Bigfoot Lights right after this trailer. Let's go.
That's stuff that they will snatch people up for and never hear from them again. Yep. But I mean, what do you do?
This is freaking Orwellian to the max, man. Orwellian to the max. The fact that we are speaking in private because the conversation can't go public, that's Orwellian. They had people in that book who were reporting other people saying things that they weren't supposed to be saying and thinking how they weren't supposed to be thinking. There was things in that book called thought police for a reason.
Yeah.
And we are now living amongst thought police. So I have to take my segment that is extremely important, put it behind a membership wall so that only people who have access to the privacy of that can access it. Because if I have it public and that gets in the wrong hands, I might disappear. That's how. Yeah. That's what's going on right now. This is what's coming. This is what's coming. It's man.
I know, and I pay attention closely because I want to try to like pinpoint exactly when things are going to get really bad, and I go back and forth between, it's next month, and then I'm like my optimistic side where that wants to believe that, okay, we got some time and maybe I can start a business, get rich, and break free from the system. But like, I don't know. I mean, what do you think? Do you think we got till, maybe a year from now, things will be drastically different if nothing changes, or is it going to play out for a number of years?
It's going to get worse and worse as time goes on until they reach their dystopia. That's what's happening. So that's what I was trying to portray earlier. I had a hard time saying it, but like we're here in time, and this is rough. This is freaking rough. We ain't used to this. But the road to dystopia gets progressively worse. All right, today we got Dustin on the show. Dustin, what is going on, man?
Not a whole lot. Just ready for this interview.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So we got done talking here and ranting a little bit about current events. So as the time that it is right now where we're speaking, it is December of 2020. And, if people are hearing this months later, maybe the world's changed a lot between now and then. But as of right now, you and I just got done ranting for about 45 minutes to an hour about what's going on in the world. And you brought some things to my attention off the CDC website. The title of this article, and I hope it's the article you're referring to, but it says interim operational considerations for implementing the SHIELD approach to prevent COVID-19 infections in humanitarian settings. And this is off the CDC website, and you told me that it talks about basically taking people who have COVID-19 and putting them in some kind of quote unquote health camps, right?
Yep, that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I got to say, when I read it, it just really made the hair stand up on the back of my neck because I know what they are. And what they want to do is, in the name of COVID, they want to take people, put them into camps. And we got the space for these camps now because, I mean, let's face it, schools are closed, stadiums are closed. There's all these large spaces that are no longer being occupied because of everything being shut down. Now they got the space to put these camps into place, and everybody is going to be crying for reopening the economy. Well, this could be one of their ways that they'll say that we can is by shielding the immunocompromised and the old. And I've already heard people talk about it. They've said, why didn't we just shield people away from the at-risk people and just carry on with the economy? Why did we have to shut everything down? Yeah. So that tells me that there could be support for it right away. And I mean, people won't really know what they truly are until it's already implemented. Two things that made me scared about it, though, was that one was it said it may have the appearance of looking forced. That right away red flag to me. And the other part that didn't sit right with me was that it said that if an outbreak were to happen in one of these facilities, it could be disastrous for the people inside. And I mean, it's
laying the groundwork for a very similar situation we saw in Nazi Germany. Essentially, is what you're saying. It's setting the table. And
exactly.
And I'll tell you that they have camps, like you said. I know. Let me put it this way. I've been told by somebody that possibly in January this year, if I'm allowed to travel outside my house, I will be probably visiting this guy here in Pennsylvania who knows of a location. And he told me this, I want to say last year before all this happened. So 2019. He said that he knows of a location that's not far from Raven Rock, which is an underground military base in Pennsylvania, that looks like an empty internment camp just sitting there waiting to go. And he said the only way you can see it, he said the only way you can see this place is a certain time of the year, which is right now, wintertime, when the leaves are off the trees and you're on a certain ridge and you look out, you can see it through binoculars. And so it's pretty well hidden, apparently. And I'm going to see if I can go find this place. Maybe they're going to, they'll see me and they'll say, hey, that's our first member. Come on down. You're not going home. I don't know. But it's a very serious situation we're living in right now. And recently, the people who are listening to this, whenever this airs and stuff, you probably have noticed already by then that I've become very vocal about this kind of stuff because I just don't care anymore. I think it's time to stand up and fight against the dystopian regime that's trying to come in here. But I say all that, Dustin, to say that you and I are going to actually go in a different direction right now with your UFO, alien, Bigfoot experience, kind of that story. And then we're going to kind of hang around and stuff for an overtime section talking about all this stuff. And so people, if they want, they can go ahead and check out the overtime section if they're members on the website. But Dustin, let's get into this experience that you had where it started out seemingly, if I remember correctly, it started out seemingly pretty innocent, where it was just like you saw a light in the sky, did something funny, and then things kind of snowballed from there. So why don't you just kind of take it away, brother?
All right. Thanks. Yeah, I mean, it did kind of just progressively build throughout the night. So this happened, let's see, 2011 in the middle of the winter. And my first daughter had just been born. And my ex and I, we're not together anymore. She and I brought her back to the reservation where we were both members from. And this is in north central North Dakota, called Turtle Mountains. And so we visited family, and then we're both going to school in Grand Rapids, Minnesota, which is northern Minnesota, deep in the woods. I mean, it's pretty far into northern Minnesota. And so I mean, it's like overall like 5 or 6 hour drive between the two places. And I don't know, for some reason we left at like 10 p.m. I don't know, something like that. And we find ourselves, driving late at night. And so as we are getting to Grand Forks and heading east, I'm looking down to the south, and I'm a passenger in the car. Our baby's in the back, and she's driving. And I see a white streak of light just shoot across the sky. And when I noticed it kind of right after that hooked downward, like it changed directions towards the ground. And a little bit after this arcing motion, not like a 90 degree or anything, kind of more of an arc, the streak of white light stopped, and in its place where it stopped was this twinkling red, blue, white light. And I was like, what was that? And I just kept staring at it. I didn't say anything immediately to my ex, and I'm just like checking this thing out and staring at it, and I was like, well, that was really odd. And so we continue on our drive, and we eventually get into Minnesota. Well, after gassing up in, I think, Park Rapids, Minnesota, we were heading off, and we still got, I don't know, hour or so left to go. And at this time, it's about 3 a.m. It's really late, and we're both wide awake. I don't know, I think we were drinking an energy drink or something and just trying to get home. And the next thing that happened was another streak of white light hooks down towards the ground, in its place a red, blue, white twinkling light. And this time she saw it too. It was right in front of us. We both could see it out the windshield of the car. And we're both like, did you see that? Did you see that? And we're both confirming to each other we saw it. And then that's when I tell her about the other one that I saw that by Grand Forks. And that one was still visible too. And so now we got two of them, one to like kind of the right of the car and one to the very front of us. And I mean, they appear to be just looking at us. Like, if I could describe it, it's more like they're in the atmosphere, but at its relative size, I think these, whatever they are, the intelligent, design of this appearance is made to look like a star. It's so when you're looking at it with the eye, it just looks like kind of another star in the sky, but it's twinkling rapidly different colors. And so, I mean, you'd have to be looking for it to notice it. But I mean, we saw the streak with the change in direction. And so, I mean, I guess that's about the size of what we're seeing, is something about the size of a star. But I mean, coupled with hooking towards the ground and, seeing two of them do the same thing, we knew something was going on. And then the next thing that happened was a third one. After the second one, I was kind of like eyes all over, like behind us, above us, and just like wherever I could look outside while we were driving, I was doing. And then a third one hooked down towards the ground and stopped, at about the same elevation or, angle from where we could look up at it. And another light. So now there's 3 of them, twinkling lights, and they just kind of have us triangulated. And the next thing that kind of happened was really, really strange. We started to have to slow down for deer, and we're swerving around deer. And then the next thing they're so thick, we had to slow down to like 10 miles an hour. We're like putzing along, swerving between deer. Like I've never seen anything like it in my life. We had about like 30 deer in our headlight in front of us. And it just felt like being in the Twilight Zone, like just that eerie feeling, middle of the night, winter, like 30 deer in our headlight. We got these twinkling lights like surrounding us, and we're just like kind of just like freaking out, not saying much at this point. We're like, I don't know what's going on. And we get through this kind of wall of deer, and we're able to kind of speed back up. And I am monitoring the situation between all these lights, as closely as I can as she drives. And the next thing I see is the one behind us, 2 white balls of light drop from the sky, drop from it. This twinkling light, 2 orbs just fall to the ground. Sorry, no, not the one behind us, the one in front of us. Yeah, sorry. So the one in front of us, 2 balls of light drop. And this just really brought it up another level because we both saw it, and it was directly in front of us. And we seen it, and it just kind of disappeared into the tree line. And mind you, this is Minnesota that we're driving through now. There is trees everywhere, and rolling hills and roads that wind left, right, up, down. That's just kind of how the roads are in Minnesota. And so we keep driving along, and next thing you know, we started to see a white light kind of pulsing on and off. And it was off in the distance through the trees. So all you can see is just like flickering of this light when it's on in the distance through the trees. So you can only see parts of it. And then we get closer and closer, and you can just see it, more and more clear as we get closer to it. And it's just kind of very rhythmically, and kind of like if you turned a dial for a light, how it's not like it just was instant on, instant off. It was more of a fade on, fade off, and very rhythmic. And we're getting closer, and then we notice there's a second one, and we get closer and closer. Finally, we're right up on it, and we stop. She stops the car, and we're staring directly at the 2 orbs that fell from this thing. Except I don't know how these things must have moved, or the thing in the sky moved, because it was still off in the distance, looking like the same distance away. But we're staring at the 2 orbs, white orbs that we've witnessed fall from beneath it. And we're probably only like 30 feet away. And one is about 6 feet off of this kind of marshy swamp to our left. And the other one was like 6 feet above it, and about the size of a basketball. There are just this pure, brilliant white light, and it just kind of fades on and fades off, fades on, fades off, and this pulsing rhythmic, and they're doing it together in perfect unison. And we're staring at it, car completely stopped, window down, and we're just in awe. Like, there's nothing holding it up. We were thinking maybe radio tower, but I mean, when the lights illuminated everything around it, you saw nothing. They were just hovering there. Just, I mean, it blew our minds. Like, we didn't know what we were staring at. I felt more excitement than fear. I was ready to get out of the car and go walk right up to it and like see what's going on, because I knew I was witnessing something incredible that I might not ever see again. And I'm like, this is my opportunity to get some sort of answers of like, you know, aliens or what have you. And I wanted to explore, but she got scared and kicked down the gas pedal, and we took off. And so we're probably cruising pretty fast now. She wanted to get the heck out of there. And the next thing that happened after that was, that's why I got it kind of mixed up, was because the next thing was one white orb, fell from the one behind us. And so that one fell to the ground, and we're driving along, just trying to get home. You know, it's like that 3:00 hour. There's no cars, by the way. We didn't pass a single car this whole time. And a few minutes after we saw the one fall behind us, from the one behind us, we're starting to notice what looked like maybe some headlights of something coming up, rolling around the hills and the trees behind us. And as it got closer, we noticed it's just one light. So we're like, okay, maybe this is a car with a headlight out, or a motorcycle in the middle of the winter. We're like, oh, you know, maybe. And but in the back of our minds, we're both thinking, you know, orb we just saw fall from the sky, you know, but we didn't say it. And we're driving, and it's getting closer, and it's gaining on us, and it's getting so close that I thought it was going to come directly through the car. And before I let that happen, so me being Native American, we pray with tobacco, and tobacco takes our prayers to the Creator. And at the time I smoked, so I grabbed a cigarette, I broke it in half, and I prayed with it. I said, okay, Creator, that's enough. She's scared. And I threw the tobacco out the window as we were going over a hill. And this thing was very close behind us. And we went over the hill. I threw the tobacco, and it didn't follow us anymore. It stayed on the other side of the hill right after I threw the tobacco out the window and said my prayer. And so we just kept driving, and like we just, you know, had a near miss, and we're both shaken up pretty good. And she said the next thing she saw was a green light beam down on the other side of the hill we just passed, and take up that thing that was chasing us. And then this is her again. She said she had this mental image of like an old Indian man in her head, like kind of laughing, you know, just like, I don't know, just, that's what she told me, is like she had this picture of an old Indian man kind of just laughing in her head. And oh yeah, and then we reached some more deer. We had to slow down again and get through some more deer. And then this whole time, all three twinkling lights were still visible, still triangulated, one in front of us, one behind us, and one to our right. And they stayed in those exact positions until we got all the way back to Grand Rapids, and we got home. And I mean, luckily we made it home, and yeah, those lights kind of just stayed in that exact formation. And but later on, I realized, at first when I had this experience, I thought that the deer were attracted to whatever activity was going on. But through listening to your podcast and the Sasquatch Chronicles, I realized that the animals are terrified of whatever is going on. So it makes sense to me now that we went through 2 waves of deer. They were moving radially out of the region that we went into. We hit the first wave because they were all moving radially away from the hot spot where we were witnessing the 2 orbs. And we were just witnessing terrified deer is what we were witnessing. They were all running away from whatever that was. And then we hit the other wave because they were running in the opposite direction away from the orbs. And so, I mean, I just, kind of years later, I put that part together. But that's pretty much that whole experience there.
So how does Bigfoot enter into this equation?
So, actually, the next day I went to the college that I was going to, Itasca Community College. And I had started my engineering degree at this college. And I mean, it's a great college, by the way. I mean, they have a really good 2-year, junior college for engineering program there. And I was taking Ojibwe language, which is what I am. I'm Ojibwe, Native American. And so I was taking, that language class, and it was taught by a medicine man named Larry Aiken. And, God rest his soul. He's passed on since. I wish I could call him up sometimes and just talk more with him about this. But, I got to talk to him at length about it the next day. I went right to him because I knew who to go to. I was like, I need to tell Larry about this. And when I did, he told me, well, I told him the whole story that I just told you. And he had this knowingly smirk on his face as I told him everything. And, he just shook his head and, had that kind of smirk on his face. And when I was finished, he told me what those balls of light were. He said, bold face, no, wavering, that those balls of light were Bigfoot. And I was like, Bigfoot, what? And he said that you were seeing them in spirit form, and had they presented themselves in physical form, you would have been terrified. And I was like, wow. And he went on to tell me that Bigfoot can become invisible. And that's why, people can't find him. He doesn't want to be found. He can become spirit form or invisible. And that's essentially why they haven't been discovered widely anyways. I mean, I know, and like you probably know, and like Wes Germer know, that there's tons of people out there that know they exist, but yeah, I mean, it's just not widely known or accepted because, of those reasons there. And he then said that it was the star people that chased us that night. And they said that the star people watch over my daughter. And I went to him for an Indian name, Native American name for my daughter. And it turned out, he informed us that the spirit world, they want her name to be Evening Star. And so that's her Native American name. And yeah, mine's actually White Cloud. And so, yeah, I mean, if I could ask him today, I'd definitely want to know more. Like, why are they watching her? And, you know, does that mean that they're going to be like abducting her occasionally? Or, you know, like, are they friendly? Or, you know, I mean, I guess I got that impression because he said it like, you know, it wasn't something to be worried about, but he didn't say those words either, though. So, I mean, I have so many questions. He's no longer with us, but all I got is, you know, just what I was able to talk to him at the time. And it was just a mind-blowing experience. I mean, it changed my life. Like, since then, I've been obsessed about the subject, and it you know, completely. I mean, I've had paranormal experiences before from Native American ceremonies, and I kind of want to talk about some of those experiences too. But like, I knew there was a spirit world and stuff, but that just confirmed to me, you know, that the alien, you know, phenomenon is real. I experienced it. And after listening to, you know, many podcasts, like, it's confirmed to me, like, it's very consistent with the red, blue, white, and then green is also in there too. But we weren't close enough to see some of those colors. But it's very consistent with a lot of descriptions that have been told by many other eyewitness accounts. And just, you know, the lights, man. There's always the talk about the lights with Bigfoot. And so, I mean, for me, that right there just kind of confirms it for me, what I saw. And yeah.
So what was your thoughts about, you know, this kind of stuff, like everything you just relayed to me? What was your thought about this kind of stuff before your experience? You said it was life-changing, so I'm assuming you didn't really pay attention to it much.
Yeah, you know, I actually struggled with drinking, and like, I had a really bad drinking problem before, so I didn't pay attention to much other than just like me wanting to party and stuff. But ever since that experience, that I sobered up shortly after that, and because, you know, actually, this is weird too, because after my daughter was born, that was the first time my mom came to me and told me, you need to start getting prepared, because things are gonna get really really ugly in the future. She told me this 10 years ago. And yeah, that's weird. I just kind of came to me now. And this always, like, kind of makes me wonder too, you know, is what's going on today, like, are the ETs going to make an appearance? Are they going to, you know, are they going to tie into it somehow? Like, I don't know. But yeah, I mean, my mom came to me and told me that. And ever since then, you know, I sobered up, and I've had that prepper's mindset, but I have been unable to, until recently, have the financial means to do anything to prepare. But today, you know, I started a painting business, and you know, money in my area is really good for that. And then yeah, and I actually graduated with my engineering degree from NDSU. So I work as a civil engineer for Indian Health Service now. And so now I have a bit more money, and I have invested heavily in preparations.
It's wise.
And I can tell you right now, we can go off the grid and live perfectly fine for the next year. I mean, I wish I had more, but the next year with no power, water, etc., like, we're good to go. And you know, anybody's long-term plan has to have renewable food source in there. So obviously, I mean, there's hunting and fishing in there, that and in Minnesota, there's plenty of natural resources to get that. So I mean, yeah, I'm ready for whatever's coming, and yeah, I mean, it kind of tied into there a little bit. Yeah.
Does your mom give context to that though? I mean, does she like say anything specific, or was it just more in general, like the world's going to be getting really bad in the future? As you know, as somebody who's lived a life and has seen things unfold, some people have the wherewithal to project things going into the future. In fact, that's kind of what I do. I mean, I've recently started really referring to myself more as a futurist than I am a conspiracy theorist, because I'm not as much of a guy who looks back at like, you know, JFK and things like that, as much as I look at the world around me and project where it's going. Is that kind of how your mom was too?
She is now, like, so my mom is divorced from my dad, and you know, they're both happy in their lives now. So she remarried to somebody that I have respect for too, and he served in Vietnam, and he's a prepper. And the other thing is, like, so like you know, I just started reading Rich Dad Poor Dad, and Robert Kiyosaki, the author, he was in Vietnam too, I think it was. And he said when he got back from the war, he said, "Boys, America has changed." And he was talking about, you know, all the hippies and whatnot trying to protest the war for, you know, I get it for good reasons, but it was the very first time in history that the population was very not supportive of troops, you know, and they had to change out of their fatigues, and, like, you know, they told them to do that and just like kind of disperse after they leave the airport. Well, you know, so my mom's husband served in Vietnam. Robert Kiyosaki served in Vietnam. They got military economics background education, so they understand true history. Not the history that's taught in classrooms in America, but true history of economics and you know, world governances, systems of governing. And you know, it's for the past 100 years, it's been the battle between communism and capitalism. But getting back to my mom, so she's married to him. I think he probably influenced some of her feelings about it, but she straight up had a dream of my grandfather, so her dad, my grandfather, that I never got to meet, unfortunately. And he was a great man. He fought in World War II. And my other grandfather fought in World War II and liberated the Nazi death camps. And so she had a dream of the grandfather that I didn't get to meet, came to her and said, you need to prepare. Things are going to get, you know, very ugly in the future, and you just need to be ready. And that was kind of all I remember from what she told me. And she told me that, you know, like about 10 years ago. And I've been meaning to bring it up to her again, but, you know, for sure, she got a warning from her late father, warning her that things were going to happen. And in the you know, 10 years since then, we've had a lot of confirmation of this through our ceremonies and sweat lodges, that things are going to happen. I've even heard of, like, the Christian church. There's been prophecy in the Christian church that in our area, at least, the Christian church is going to lean heavily on the Native American, and there's going to, you know, Native American population, and there's going to be a partnership there. And I think it's because, you know, our Native reservations are ready. They have prepared, and we have a lot of people that live in poverty, and they already essentially live off the grid. And there's, you know, the general population don't have any survival skills. They don't know how to live off the land. They don't know which foods to pick and berries to pick, or where they can get food out of nature. And that knowledge is still retained on the reservations. And it's a combination through culture and tradition, and just plain old resourcefulness and need. And so I think when I put my analytical mind to it, I think that's what they mean, is that the Christian churches are going to need some help from Native communities. And I can totally see that happening. And yeah, I forgot, what was the other question?
No, I don't think there was. So no, but no, but I do want to backtrack here a little bit, because I don't want to get away from this original experience before we go into the, because I know you did, well, now I'm drawing a blank as to, what was it? You did some kind of ceremony. I remember reading it in the email.
Oh yeah. Yep. Sundance.
Thank you. I got Star Child on my mind, and for Star People, and I had the S's, but, yeah. So before we get into that, though, I want to backtrack to the initial experience. And you said that your wife, she saw at one point an old Indian man laughing. Was that like a vision, or was it a dream? It was in the moment, though, right?
It was in the moment. And actually, like my ex, we weren't actually married, but my current wife, different person, and we got some babies now too. But yeah, my ex said that she in the moment saw like an old man, Indian man, kind of laughing. She had that picture in her head. Yeah, I mean, I found that interesting, and just the connection with Larry Aiken telling us, was able to tell us what happened. And he said that they come from a star not too far from us, Pleiades. I think that is something that I remember hearing. And but yeah, I don't know. There's like a sister planet apparently, and they come from there, is what I was told.
This week's sponsor, who I just got off the phone with, it's Feals, F-E-A-L-S. That's Feals. It's a CBD company that's delivered directly to your doorstep. It's a monthly subscription-based. Feals naturally helps reduce stress and anxiety. If you're having a hard time sleeping, or you feeling pain that's preventing you from sleeping, Feals is the company for you, because Feals is U.S.-grown premium full-spectrum hemp. Now, what does that mean? Isolate CBD is actually a kind of CBD that people get used to over time, and it doesn't work as well for them. But full-spectrum hemp actually doesn't have that effect for people, where actually people over time sometimes need to reduce their doses because it works that good for them. Feals is easy to take. All you got to do is drop a few underneath the tongue and you're good to go. And if you're feeling a little hesitant because you never did CBD, but you thought about it, you heard a lot about it, Feals offers a free CBD hotline to help guide your personal experiences. Feals works naturally to help you feel better. There's no high, hangover, or addiction. My mom loves it. Anybody who knows my mom, she's in a lot of pain all the time since she's about my age, and she absolutely loves it. Now, Feals helps people feel their best every day, and it can help you too. Become a member today by going to feals.com/Tony, and you'll get 50% off your first order with free shipping. That's FEALS.com/Tony to become a member and get 50% automatically taken off your first order with free shipping. Feals. Speaking of the stars and star people, you said that, and I don't remember the man's name. I'm not going to be able to pronounce it anyways. But he told you about the star people, and those were the lights in the sky. But the lights in the sky, if I heard you correctly, 2 white orbs fell from them onto the ground, and he said those were Bigfoot. How does that kind of tie together, do you think?
Well, I mean, if I accept what he says, and I do, there's a connection between Bigfoot and ETs. What the connection is exactly, I don't know. Are they ETs themselves? I mean, I think that's a definite possibility. Or do the ETs maybe the ETs brought them here from a different planet, and they just, it's like Star Wars where they got, Wookiees and these other different alien races. They just kind of commingle and whatnot. And to be honest, I think that there's multiple alien races out there. And, they talk about the Greys. So those are probably the most famous. And then there's the reptilian. And some people jokingly refer to them as the lizard people. And then there's the Nordics. And they're like a tall, slender type alien. And I really think that all those different types exist. And so what Bigfoot is exactly, maybe it's another type of alien. And, but they have this spiritual aspect too, that is really curious. When they can become pure spirit form, I think that, they just they're much more in touch with their spiritual side than humans are. And I personally think that they could be all from God, like how the different races on this planet are children of God. And I mean, to clarify, I believe in Gitchimanadu, which is the Great Spirit, but I also believe in Jesus Christ and God. I believe that that Gitchimanadu and God are the same person, but God, which I'll use interchangeably with the Great Spirit, gave his people on the planet different ways of reaching him. And I don't believe that one way is more superior than the other, just as long as you use one of those ways that he put on this planet to reach him, and you do it. You pray, you put down your tobacco if that's the way you pray, or you go to church and you pray. And so I think there was different ways given to his people. And so all these, I struggle a little bit with, like, what's going on really with the alien thing. Could it be a demonic deception from the devil? Could it be, is that just what it is? Just a demonic manifestation? Or are they just another race of intelligent life that comes from the universe, more of a conventional, thought of what aliens are? I kind of go back and forth between those two, because I can definitely see that either one could be real. And, when we talk about different dimensions of existence, I mean, string theory necessitates higher levels of dimensions for it to be a valid theory of physics. And so, maybe these beings have a better understanding and how to come and go out of these dimensions. Who's to say that these dimensions that they speak of are the realm of existence that we go to after we pass on? I mean, all I know for sure is that I know that people go to a different plane of existence with the Creator after life on this earth is over. And I also believe that hell is real, and that people will go there too if they didn't lead a life and try to help people. And but I did ask him, are these aliens like of God? I mean, that's what I was trying to get at. Like, are they his children too? And he said yes. So, I mean, I guess I kind of lean towards that. And but I don't know. I think that there very well could be a federation of aliens that have decided that humans are not sophisticated enough in our technology and our evolution as a civilization to reveal the existence of extraterrestrials. I think it's like Star Trek, the movie, when they went to that planet and they visited these, weren't they covered in like white powder or something? Or they're like white people? I don't know, but they're like obviously like in the Stone Age. And you know, they talked about, oh, we were not supposed to reveal our existence to these people, and like you could have damaged the outcome of that civilization. And I think it's logical to think that they are curious in us, and they don't want to interfere though, because they want, I mean, that's what we would do ourselves. We try not to interfere with natural life. We just want to observe and learn, but try not to disturb what they got going on. But I think there's also bad ETs, and sometimes they don't play by those rules. And you know, maybe the good ones are actually providing protection from the bad ones, but you know, maybe the bad ones, they still get away with their abductions and stuff, because that is a real phenomenon too.
Yeah, it's all very complex and intriguing, and there's so many different ways to think about these kind of experiences that people have, and just the ideas that float around out there from these experiences. And everybody has their own thoughts and ideas and stuff. And that's why I don't discredit people, and I don't try telling people, well, you're wrong because of this and you're wrong because of that. Because here's the thing, like, yeah, sure, I have my thoughts and ideas on things, but I don't know if I'm right. You know, like I have very strong feelings about things, certain things, very strong feelings that lead to that come from my spiritual background. Those are, I mean, I think that's very common for many people, where some of their strongest feelings in life stem from their strongest feelings of their religious, spiritual backgrounds. And but at the end of the day, like, there's so many things that we just don't know whether it's possible or not, if it's real or not, or if our line of thought lines up with what actually is happening around us. And that's something that it has bubbled up to the surface in just culture in general. When you have an entire world that's been manipulated and propagated by media across the globe, that's controlled by world elites, people don't know where to go with their thoughts, because what they're being told is manipulated, and deep down inside, they know that. They know that. And so to think outside the box that's been given to them is extremely hard, because we don't teach critical thinking to our children, and they've essentially snatched away the ability to critically think from adults through entertainment and lulling you to sleep with the phones that are in your pockets. And so, I totally hear where you're coming from. Bigfoot's an alien, all that stuff. But no, but no, it's true though, right? I mean, it's true. Like, we hear people talk about Bigfoot being translucent, and where does that idea come from in Hollywood? Well, the movie's a Predator, you know, and the Predator is translucent and an alien, and people say that Bigfoot, they've seen Bigfoot be translucent, and we see people like you having UFO experiences line up with Bigfoot. Not necessarily you didn't see Bigfoot, but the idea of it, we have had people say that we had Bigfoot activity on our property, and at the same time we had UFO sightings. And so, and sometimes people talk about Bigfoot interacting with the UFO. I've heard people say that they saw Bigfoot come out of the UFO. There's so many different things that to think about, right?
There's definitely a connection. And I mean, I don't know. Bottom line is, I guess we don't really know what they are until we can talk to one, or, you know, hopefully maybe somebody has had some sort of mind speak. And I can't think of an interview that I've listened to where they told outright, we are this or we are that. Maybe one day somebody will have that experience, but
even that. So like for me, the way I hear things, I approach things, I just, this is how I naturally am. When I hear that, I'm like, okay, that's your experience, right? But then when it comes to the translation of the experience from the experiencer, that's where there's room for people to draw their own conclusions. And so when somebody says that they experienced mind speak from Bigfoot or mind speak from whatever, that person who had that experience at that point defines their experience through however they decided to define it. So they could say, you know, I had mind speak and Bigfoot told me this, and so I believe it. And then there's going to be other people out there that are going to say, well, you had mind speak and you had the Bigfoot experience and it told you this, but what if whatever you experienced wasn't being truthful with you? What if it was being deceptive? And so there's just so many different ways to think about this stuff. And that's why I just really put emphasis with this show to be open-minded, and we just talk to people, have good, fun conversation, and just let the cards fall where they may, and let the audience, you, me, everybody decide and draw your own conclusions as to what you're going to believe, because that's the most important thing right now. In a world where you're being told what to believe everywhere you turn, it's very important that you have at least an hour show where we approach topics, and at the end of the day, you as the guest on the show and I are telling all the people who listen, these are the experiences. Now draw the conclusions where you want to draw them, and think for yourself and see where that thought process goes. I think that's huge, because it's something that we have, that is a talent and a gift that has been taken away from us in our society.
Yes. Everybody needs to critically think for themselves and never take anything you hear for face value, even if it's from authorities. The media is like perceived to be an authority. They're supposed to tell the truth, and they're just reporting the news. But no, actually, the Smith Modernization Act of
2012,
I forget the 2012, legalized propaganda. Yep. So the media. The big media corporations, it's propagandized.
And your next thought is, well, I didn't hear about that on the news. Exactly, because they're not going to tell you. They're allowed to lie to you.
Yeah. I before we switch gears into that, I was wondering maybe if there's time. I don't know. You tell me, like the Sundance Experience.
Oh yeah, that's where I'm going with it, man. I want you to go right into it.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, it was a pretty cool experience. So what a Sundance is for, it's the most sacred ceremony that we have as a native culture, and it's practiced all throughout North America. And, you know, so tribes down south, all the way to way up here in Minnesota, North Dakota, South Dakota, we practice Sundance, and they take slightly different various forms depending on where you are geographically, but essentially what they are is a way to show your commitment to the Creator, and your sending prayers the most powerful way that you can, and you're there praying for the people, praying for what they need. If you have sick relatives or friends and family, you're praying for them. Or if you know the tribe is going through something awful, or that's what it was, you know, then. But like today, we pray for the country, we pray for the world, we pray for everyone. We don't pray for just our people only. No, we pray for the world. We care about everyone. And it's so there is flesh offering and actual, like, what could be viewed as self-mutilization, but it's very traditional, it's very sacred, and it's very real, and it's done in a sterile, with like sterile scalpels and everything, in a safe way. So to Sundance, you have to be ready for it. It's you're supposed to fast in the spring and go up on the hill for a vision quest, and you fast for no water and food for 4 days, and you sit up on the hill, and you battle the elements. You sleep under the stars, and you go without food, you go without water, and it simulates getting closer to death. You are bringing your body closer to the point of death. And so what it does is it thins the veil between this world and the next. And you're meeting the creator halfway. You're showing that you're willing to meet him halfway from this world to that one. And he will meet you the other half. And he does. So I haven't done a vision quest yet, but I did get to do the Sundance. And so after you do that, then you get to go to the Sundance, and it's 4 days and 4 nights as well. And you go without food and water that whole time, and every day you are dancing, and it's you form a ring, a circle, and you use like tree branches, like boughs from trees, to form kind of like roof structures around the circle. And then in the middle, you put up a spirit tree, and I forget the exact name of the tree, which one it is, but like it's a specific tree, and it's blessed before it's cut down, and it's treated as a sacred object from the time it's cut down, and all the way till we're done with the Sundance. But it is the most sacred item when we're at the Sundance. So when it's brought into the circle, every Sundancer ties a rope to the top of the tree, and then they also tie tobacco bundles to the top. And these tobacco bundles are your prayers, what you're there for. You usually Sundance for a handful of things that you're there specifically for. And I was there for my family and for a few other things. And one second. And so after everybody ties their rope to the tree, they raise it, and it's sunk into the dirt, and then buried around. And so now you got a standing tree in the middle. You dance around it 4 days, and no food, no water. And like I explained with Vision Quest, you're thinning the veil between this world and that one, showing you're meeting him halfway. And in the mornings and evenings, we have a sweat lodge. So if you don't know what a sweat lodge is, it's like a sauna, but these rocks are in a fire that is, by the way, there's a fire burning for the entire time of the Sundance. And in the fire, we bring in rocks. We call them grandfathers. And we heat up the grandfathers, and they sit in there for like a good half a day. And so they're in there, and they're glowing red hot by the time we take them out and put them into the sweat lodge. And so there's this pit in the middle, and it's a dome structure with canvases and blankets and whatnot covering the dome structure. So it's pitch black. You can't even see the hand in front of your face. And we get in, and I just get in with like some basketball trunks on or something. And actually, when you're sundancing, though, we have traditional, like men wear a traditional skirt, and women wear a traditional skirt, but with also a top on too, like a blouse type thing, but traditional as well. And then you pour water on the rocks, and it gets very hot in there. But like we're also kind of like letting the moisture hit our body, and we're like kind of, that's how we clean up a little bit in the morning. And one night that we had a sweat lodge, we had a spirit, an entity, visit us, and his name was Sota. And Sota was a warrior that died in battle at the age of about 13 or 14. And he came to warn us that the next day it was going to be very hot. So tell them to put the red ochre on. And the red ochre is like traditional sunblock, sunscreen. It's red and it shields the skin from, damaging light. And so we don't burn. And he was audible, though. That was the crazy thing. You could hear him. Granted, you can't see anything inside the sweat lodge, but the weird part was it sounded like I was listening to a cartoon character. It was this high-pitched, cartoonish sounding thing, and it sounded like gibberish. I couldn't understand it. And it was just like this. It was just very bizarre sounding like that. But you could tell something was communicating, and the medicine men understood perfectly, could hear him. And when you reach that level of spirituality and have lived that life and shown for a very long time and have practiced this culture, you reach different levels of being able to see and hear things. So they can see more than I can see. They can hear more than I can hear. And so they were able to tell, I could hear something, but I just couldn't understand what he was saying. And, but they could understand it. And, so they told us what he said. And he also said that he likes Snickers and Coke.
Which kind of Coke?
Yeah, right. And, that's a thing in our culture too, is leaving out spirit plates. And so when we have a big feast, we'll take a little bit of everything and put it on a plate. And that's offering it to the spirits in a show of respect and acknowledgement of their existence, of still being there. Because when we do this, the ancestors, they follow us and they watch everything. And while we did this, a great big wall of a thunderstorm just billowed up in front of us and started moving in on us. And as it was moving in, we were seeing faces of like heyokas, they call them, which is medicine men, but they're also jokesters. And it would take a little bit too long to understand tell why they're jokesters and stuff like that, but that's what they're called, heyokas. And we saw their faces in this thunderstorm. And then as it was moving in, it stopped. It stopped like a couple miles out, and this huge mushroom cloud just billowed up in front of us. And then it started putting on a lightning show for us. Lightning just streaking across the great big cloud. It looked like a mountain in front of us, and filled with just dazzling lightning show for us. And he said that they do this every year. They show us that they're watching. And there's been lots of UFO experiences there. I didn't get to see a UFO experience there that time, but they said that, there's F-18s that scramble and they try to chase them down. And they know that our ceremonies call these things in. We don't tell the ETs to come, but they react. And that's the other very strange thing about the alien realm, is that they respond to prayer. When I threw that tobacco out, it stopped following us. When we have our ceremonies, they come, they check it out. And I mean, the government outlawed our Sundances because they were freaked out by it. And they still are to this day. They're scrambling their F-18s. They can't keep up with the UFOs. But that was one of the reasons that they banned it, because they were freaked out by it, because they saw some stuff. And I mean, Bigfoot, they are always like in the vicinity. They watch too. And, a lot of people talk about seeing their glowing eyes off in the distance surrounding the ceremony. And And then while you're in sweat too, there's a shaker that, like it's kind of like a maraca, but it's a traditional shaker, and it gets picked up by a spirit and it starts getting rattled all over the sweat lodge. And as it gets rattled, it sparks off light. It gives off a light. It's supposed to be pitch black in there. I mean, we're talking no electronics whatsoever, no lighters, nothing like that. And somehow there's light coming from inside this shaker. And it's the spirit energy, from the spirit world picking up this shaker. And when we sing and we get to an intense part of the song, that's when all that energy, it must give them enough energy to enter into the physical space that we're in, pick up that shaker, make it spark light and shake it. I mean, it just shakes it in front of you, and like it hits the ground. I mean, you could hear it just like somebody really like energized picked it up and just hitting the ground around people and like hitting the rocks. It's a very intense experience. And yeah, if you're not ready for it, which I've seen stuff like that before, because when I was like 6 years old, my mom needed hip replacement surgery or something. I think that's what it was. But she had a healing ceremony, and we're in the basement of a medicine man's home, and we block out all the light, pitch black in there too. We circle up, and there's shakers in the middle. I saw those shakers light up too. But at that age, I still had my innocence. And this is universal across all cultures and religions, that when you have your innocence, you're more susceptible to seeing and hearing. Well, that time I got to see two spirits walk into the circle. So granted, it's black, pitch black. I can't see a thing. I can't see the hand in front of my face. But off in the distance, I look and I see, like in the shape of smoke, two figures walking into the circle. And I still remember it to this day. I mean, it's one of the experiences that just let me know that there is a spirit world. There is an afterlife. Our actions have consequences, and we were most definitely interacting with that world. And but yeah, I mean, it just looked like smoke, like white smoke. But it was in the form, like I could see legs, a body, arms, and a head, but nothing distinct beyond that. But I could just see them walking into the circle, coming to help us, with our prayers. And yeah, it's wild stuff.
Yeah, it definitely is wild stuff. And, one of the things you're talking about is all these experiences. And then you mentioned about how the government and you guys stopped doing it because they had to, scramble jets or whatever. But then right after that, you mentioned about how it attracts, Bigfoot, and, you're having these UFO, ET experiences or whatever. It kind of, at least from your perspective of telling the stories and experiences that you've had, it really kind of ties in my mind, a very direct connection to some of these people's experiences being very spiritual in nature as well as maybe physical. So, I know some people don't think Bigfoot's anything other than a hairy creature walking around the woods. But if what you're doing is attracting these creatures along with ET, along with UFOs, to the point that the government's having to scramble jets and tell you to stop, like it tells me there's very much of a spiritual aspect to these kind of things that maybe people don't want to accept, or maybe just can't mentally fathom or go there,
Yeah. I don't know why there's suppression of, the belief in, spirits, or just I think it's just the push of, science versus religion, and or just spirituality in general. Why they have to be competing ideologies, I don't know, because I personally believe that, the creator willed things into existence and willed, evolution to happen. And he had many, creations before he arrived with man, and he's sticking with man right now. And so, as we explore science further, I mean, I think that we could get closer to blending the two, and I think we're getting closer to that point. But and I think these ETs, I think they understand that existence isn't just what you can see, hear, touch, and whatever with your senses. They understand that there's a spiritual aspect to existence as well. Because if Bigfoot can choose to be physical or in a spirit form, they obviously know more than we do. But our culture, we always knew all these things. And yeah, I mean, sadly, it looked like paganism when the spread of the Western world came in. But we're still here today. We still practice our ways and our culture to this day, and for that I'm proud. And I just I hope that we're able to retain our language too, because that's dying with our elders as they pass on, and not enough young people are learning it.
No, I absolutely agree with you, man. Listen, Dustin, these stories have been a pleasure to listen to, man. I appreciate you sharing them.
Absolutely.
Well, that's the show, everybody. I really hope you enjoyed it. And if you did enjoy it, please share the show with your friends. I don't care where you share the show, on any platform. It doesn't bother me if you share the show on Facebook or Twitter. I don't care. Just share the show if you enjoyed it. And once again, if you want to, go ahead and follow me on MeWe, because that is a free speech platform. I hear my opinion might change after I am using it for a little bit. We will see. But if you want to stay contacted with me in case I am erased off the internet, and you want to get the updates as to what the Confessionals is doing and what I'm doing on the side for this new project and where to find it, just text the word YUP, Y-U-P, Y-U-P to 844-215-0819. That's 844-215-0819. Guys, I love yous. You've been with me for over 300 episodes, and I thank you very much for that. It means the world to me and my family that we have people listening on a weekly basis. And as times change, we need to be flexible and act according to the things that are being thrown at us. And that is what I'm doing right now with my actions. I hope you guys have a great week. Stay safe, take care, and remember, the truth will set you That phrase is becoming more and more true every day. The truth will set you free, but first it'll piss you off.
That's stuff that they will snatch people up for and never hear from them again. Yep. But I mean, what do you do?
This is freaking Orwellian to the max, man. Orwellian to the max. The fact that we are speaking in private because the conversation can't go public, that's Orwellian. They had people in that book who were reporting other people saying things that they weren't supposed to be saying and thinking how they weren't supposed to be thinking. There was things in that book called thought police for a reason.
Yeah.
And we are now living amongst thought police. So I have to take my segment that is extremely important, put it behind a membership wall so that only people who have access to the privacy of that can access it. Because if I have it public and that gets in the wrong hands, I might disappear. That's how. Yeah. That's what's going on right now. This is what's coming. This is what's coming. It's. Man,
I know, and I pay attention closely because I want to try to like pinpoint exactly when things are going to get really bad. And I go back and forth between, it's next month. And then I'm like my optimistic side that wants to believe that, okay, we got some time and maybe I can start a business, get rich and break free from the system. But like, I don't know. I mean, what do you think? Do you think we got till, maybe a year from now, things will be drastically different if nothing changes, or is it going to play out for a number of years?
It's going to get worse and worse as time goes on until they reach their dystopia. That's what's happening. So that's what I was trying to portray earlier. I had a hard time saying it, but like we're here in time, and this is rough. This is freaking rough. We ain't used to this. But the road to dystopia gets progressively worse. Hey, thanks for watching the Confessionals on YouTube. If you like what you heard, hit the subscribe button, hit the share button, and hit the like button. That would be a great help to me. And if you want more of the Confessionals on a weekly basis, every Thursday I come out with a special show just for members on my website. So if you want to check that out, go to theconfessionalspodcast.com, hit the join button, and become a member today. And every Thursday, you'll get a new show, and you can binge on previous shows, which there's almost 100 of them. So if you love the show, go ahead and check it out. But thank you very much for being here on YouTube and checking out the channel.